Item 15, representations about property, corporation property access. We've had this in, we've slimmed it down. This is the no advertising or solicitation. On here, any thoughts on this section?
So when the church puts a pamphlet in the post office, in the corporation lobby, in the post office, that's an advertising for the church. The church is a business that needed approval in the documents. And evidently, there's an agreement from 1947. I don't know that the water department advertises other than sending out bills. So again, I don't.
We have no water department. We get service from the Anne Arundel County. We get municipal water service.
Right.
The same as if you lived in downtown Pasadena.
But they
don't have a water business operated and granted by Gibson Island Corporation.
Yes, they own property that you sold to them and you approved it. But let's speak about the church for a minute. So we don't want to, if Jeanette's down at the pond and somebody says, oh, tell me about the group home and your residence because my grandmother such and such, is Jeanette going to run afoul of this language?
Talking about it?
Advertising.
Or leaving advertising lying around, or
well, that again, I simply I understand that the church doesn't go to door, but the church absolutely leaves sermons and leaves pamphlets in the, and in fact, the church is advertised, different entity is advertised on the Gibson Island website. And what's interesting about this is, as Dr. Barnes said when he was club president, this is something, you know, this is a benefit and a service to the island, so people can stay here longer, and you know, it's being treated like it's a pariah, and it's not, and these people are not. They're just people, and you know, we've had people
we understand that and acknowledge that. We're not asserting otherwise.
I don't want Jeanette. Thank you. I don't want Jeanette or somebody to run afoul if they're strolling with somebody, walking with somebody, and somebody asks a question. Is the procedure then that they have to run back to the building? I think what we had put in here before was that in the normal course, certainly if the church is not going door to door giving out, I mean, that's just, we have no problem with that.
Well, no, am I going to get kicked out of the club too? What's his name? Our neighbor here, Henry? No.
But what this is saying is that in any of your promotions or advertising.
Good job. If I'm on the golf course with a bunch of 9-hole ladies and because I've often, not in the last 2 years, but when I was playing with them, all the time somebody was asking me a question and was very interested. Am I going to get like written up for that? Or is somebody going to say, oh, Jeanette was talking about her business. I'd like to know about that. I'd like to know how you guys feel about that. I've talked to Patty often about what I do. So I'm curious is if down the road, if this is a statement that I've got to follow, am I not allowed to talk about my business?
What if somebody asks for a brochure? They're talking to her and they say, could you give us a brochure? Well, let's walk over. We go past the first hole and get a brochure.
Okay.
I can't imagine that that's what this is.
I can't imagine that either. It's no different than the garden club. What this is saying is none of your promotions will be inconsistent with the deeds and agreements. It will be inconsistent with any accommodations agreement that we enter into, or the residence handbook, or other rules of the corporation.
And I might add also that the church no longer leaves anything about the church in the post office. Somebody was throwing them in the trash on a regular basis, and now they leave them in the parish hall. So they're no longer advertising the church, which is not a business in my estimation, but it is no longer being advertised in the post office. So,
well, Patty, I appreciate that and happy to follow that. But just so you know, deeds and agreement, the church needed approval. The group home only needs an approval because it's a business, so it's actually more restrictive, but we'll follow the church. You know, that's something that we've got no problem following. I think we need to put some language in here about speaking so that Jeanette or somebody, if she gets asked a
Then-
question,
then
just all of a sudden-
We invite you to propose it because this is, we think, pretty reasonable language. If you want to make a
Patty,
proposal
with
for
with
changing
that,
it.
that's wonderful piece, Patty. Thank you. Thank you, Louis.
So this is the 23rd of March. And this is the Gibson Island website, official website, under My Club. So it's Gibson Island Corporation Real Estate, under My Club, under amenities. So much to do on Gibson Island. You go down and it's got a garden club, golf, historical society, playground, St. Christopher's by the Sea. Our non-denominational and member-directed church welcomes all club members and island residents for worship. Well, if it's member-directed, then and it's advertised on the club portion of the website, we know it's a separate religious corporation, but if it's member-directed, then it can't discriminate against any of the protected classes, including the disabled. So again, what we agreed to do on the Zoom call was to follow what the church is doing. I walked into the post office today to send a package, and the church is still advertising in the post office, which is, you'll see next. The church is still advertising on the club portion of the website, and the church is member directed. The church can't discriminate, and it needs to fix that back ramp, needs to fix the disabled signs that, by the way, were dug around for the new lights, and they could have easily been raised up to the 5 feet at the bottom of the sign, and we need painted lines there. So again, what Patty said is not in fact accurate. The church is still advertising in the post office, not only up on the wall, but also leaving extra copies. In addition to under My Club, under amenities, about Gibson Island is St. Christopher's by the Sea. When you pull it up, it talks about administration. The chapel was formally established in 1923, although the land records say the building was built from 28 to 33, and has served the community continuously since then. While not a church of the Episcopal Diocese of Maryland, St. Christopher's has always adhered to the doctrine of worship of the Episcopal Church. However, from the outset, the vision for the chapel was that it be a community church and a house of prayer for all people today. Today, the people who gather to worship St. Christopher's are members of various Christian denominations, but all are committed to serving all the people of Gibson Island, and they intend that the chapel be a valuable island resource open to all who seek spiritual growth and strength. A board of trustees is responsible for the secular aspects of the church, finances, including budgeting and the management of the endowments, fundraising, capital projects, and the upkeep of all buildings are under the auspices of the board of trustees. And that would be a religious corporation, and that would be a business, and those would be the business functions. The rector is responsible for the spiritual aspects of the chapel, to include all worship and Christian education.